So I'm right here in the heart of Ottawa, and we're in the Byward Market. I'm just walking down towards the more central part of Byward Market, but I'm basically near Cumberland and Briere Street, and just walking down more towards the south. And yeah, we're here to meet some people, and I've asked the Lord for 9 people, 9 interviews. And that's what's on my heart. So I'm going to see if we can do 9 interviews. And I've got one question that I'm going to start asking people. And I won't tell you the question now, but you'll see the question when you start watching the interviews. So let's see what happens. All right. First of all, I want to thank you guys for accepting to do this interview. Okay.
Cheers.
So appreciate it. So what are you guys' names?
My name's Pat.
Pat.
Kevin.
Kevin? Noel? Steve, I'm Dan. And yeah, so I got a question today, and I didn't even tell you what the question was, but here it is. And it's going to get into it a bit. We ask us, what do you guys think of it's a Roman Catholic doctrine, okay? It's called Purgatory. All right? I don't know if you guys have heard of it before. Which of you guys have heard of Purgatory? You've heard of it? Okay, so you've heard of it. All right. And you guys haven't heard of it, right?
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it.
You have to define it for me.
Okay, so we're just going to briefly define what purgatory is. So purgatory is a belief that when you die, you don't go to heaven or hell. You go to this other place called purgatory, and then eventually, hopefully, you get out of that place and go to heaven.
Like a limbo?
Maybe it's called limbo.
Like between heaven and hell.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll call it a limbo. Okay, we want to make sure our definitions are right because other people might have different definitions. But yeah, we'll call it limbo. So, all right. So let's go to now. What's your name again? Is? Your name?
Another 7-8 minutes.
No, your name is?
Oh, Noel.
Noel. Yeah, I thought it was Noel. Okay. So Noel, so you've heard of it. So we'll kind of ask you first. Okay.
Okay. Well,
So what do you think? Do you think it's a real place?
man, well, you have to think that heaven and hell is a real place first.
Okay, all right. Oh, that's interesting. All right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we should go there or not. So what do you think? Do you think heaven and hell's a real place?
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Maybe not sure, eh?
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Hard to tell. What do you? Okay.
It's interesting. Like
Is it-
heaven or hell is.
I think it's good to have something to believe in, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I have nothing against people believing in religion and that, but personally, I don't think it exists, and I don't know. It's
So
hard
what-
to say.
Okay.
I don't know. No one knows. That's the thing. Like,
So-
you can't know.
we live in a society where everything has to be proven, right? So nothing's been proven. Kind of sucks.
And we got
but
people believing in flat Earth and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I know.
We think
Yeah.
about it like you're in that purgatory where you're actually between heaven and hell, and you're being judged from what you've done in your entire life, and then they decide. That's where it gets tricky.
I mean,
Oh.
where were we before we were born? I don't know. Like,
I'm an evolutionist.
So you're an evolutionist. You're like, where were we before we were born? Well, maybe we didn't exist before we were born. Well, I think we existed in our mother's womb, right? But what about before that? Okay, so getting back to the question about purgatory, I know because we're getting a lot of discussion here, and I think you're right, Noel, that there's an issue of like you got to believe that heaven and hell exist before you even believe in purgatory, right?
Well, or maybe not necessarily. I mean, maybe there's only purgatory.
That's an interesting. Yeah.
The people that believe in heaven and hell probably don't believe in that. Like, they believe you either go to heaven or hell.
Yeah.
So,
But there's some beliefs that actually people go to, like, okay, you're getting to St. Peter's gates and you're being judged. Purgatory, maybe, in that discussion. Maybe that's a little bit of a purgatory. We're like, well, either you get in or you don't.
Yeah.
So, but I'll quote Bill Burr on this one. It's a comedian. He says, who sits at the gate and judges you? You're the one who created me. It's your fault. Basically, that's my Bill Burr on that one.
Okay, so I got a question though. I know you guys got to go back in a few minutes, and I want to say I'm really thankful you guys are doing this. Okay, and I'll give you a card later, and you can go to my website and check out the video and how it's all done and how it's put together. Okay, but and I know we don't have much time, but I just thought of one thing, which as you guys were talking, so if someone here today, they came along and they stole your wallet. They came right up to you and they stole your wallet. Okay, like you'd be pretty frustrated, right? You'd be pretty mad, right? And you'd probably chase after them and say, "Give me my wallet back," right? Okay, what if that guy did it like every day and every second of the day? I mean, we would eventually call the police and say, "Get rid of this guy," right? Haul him off, right? I think you guys all agree, right? Okay, haul him off to, or else put him in jail, right? Does that make sense? Okay.
I think it comes to that point where you're just like, I think I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah. So. Yes. So
that's why this guy hates me so much.
So if we don't have law and order in our society, our society would crumble, right?
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah.
It'd become like bedlam. So I mean, there is a real reason why we have police. I mean, police officers, but generally speaking, I mean, we, especially in Canada and stuff like that, we have to be really thankful for the fact we have police. We're keeping law and order. Our societies can function properly. So here's my point, though. My point would be, you know, if all the criminals were on the street and they were allowed to do whatever they wanted, I mean, you wouldn't have a very good society. Things wouldn't work out so well.
Complete anarchy.
It would be exactly anarchy. So, I mean, here's my point. Here's where I'm going with this. It's like, okay, when we die, okay, like some people say, well, I believe in heaven. Other people say this is whatever, okay? But what if all the criminals went to heaven? In my opinion, this is what I think, is if all the bad guys went to heaven, then heaven would no longer be heaven. It would be hell, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So to me, I mean, just on a rational basis, it kind of makes sense that there's got to be some other place in heaven to hold people or contain people who aren't willing to do the right thing. They were not willing to do, follow the rules. Does that make sense, right? So far?
Yeah.
So doesn't that, in a sense, give justification for there being at least two places after we die? Two places to go to? What do you guys think?
Yeah, it would make sense if, like, from a theoretical point of view, yeah. But
Okay.
Also, you could argue that evolution, like through evolution, we evolved to like have morals, to so that we don't, as a society, because humans evolved in groups. So if we didn't have that instilled in us, right away, then we wouldn't be as a society, really.
Well, I saw a documentary a couple of weeks ago. Just to sum it up, it's basically saying every generation from the start. So my dad, my grandfather, my grandfather's father, etc. They passed down their knowledge to the next generation. Kind of what evolution is. That's where your morals are from. So you see back in the 20s where black people were like discriminated completely, and then in the 50s it started to diminish as society kind of evolved and our morals made more sense. And now we look at today where my generation is complete, like,
Yeah, it still exists, but it's definitely
it
not.
still exists. It's not right, but we're we're in a society where we accept pretty much everything. Not everybody does, but that's just a question of morals. Yeah. So if you have no morals whatsoever, then there's scientific proof of mental capacity, PTSD, and all that stuff, where it'll actually make somebody do stuff like kill someone or steal or whatever. Even stealing, if you're gonna steal to feed your family, I'm biased on that, to be honest. If you're gonna steal to feed your family, okay. If you're gonna steal for greed, that's terrible morals. That's two different things. Are they both right? No, they're not. But
One's a little bit.
one's just a question of morals.
One's the purgatory of sin.
One's the purgatory of sins. There we go. That's pretty much where I was going to. So if you have a society where everybody's doing their thing to make it right, morally is wrong, there's a purgatory, I guess.
Hey, so speaking of evolution, okay? So you guys embrace pretty much that theory that we kind of came from the amoebas and eventually got to fish and then eventually got to human beings, that type of thing? But you guys eat fish?
Yeah.
So you guys are eating your relatives?
Yep.
Hey,
Cannibalism.
Everything's eating
so you guys eat fish. But you know, fish, they don't. You ever notice what men and women do? They seek. They're kind of religious and everything like that, and they're looking for some, like they're trying to, like there's many religions. They're trying to find God or whatever. But fish don't do that, right? So there's something going on in men that don't happen to fish. So I think there's a difference there, guys. Look, I want to thank you so much. You guys have been amazing, honestly. And check out my website, and I'll give you the card later. Okay? So I appreciate it. Honestly, really, really happy you guys are willing to say yes.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
Thank you. Okay, bye.